All right. Hello, everybody. This is Carl White coming to you from the secret headquarters of the Mortgage Marketing Animal, sitting here in the famous war room, actually. And you are listening to Loan Officer Freedom, the #1 podcast in all of the world now for loan officers. So we're the #1 viewed podcast for loan officers that exist. And thanks to you guys, and thanks to our outstanding guests. And we've got one of those on the call right with us today. This is Doug Cadaret. And Doug's one of our Freedom Club coaches, and he's been a dear friend of mine for, how long have we known each other, Doug? About 3 years, 4 years?
I'm thinking more closer to 4.
4 years, something like that. It seems like forever, somehow, but it's, so, I mean, in a good way, yeah. It seems like I've known you for a long time. So Doug is a very humble guy, but dude, you're like really super smart. I mean, I'm really we just spent like a day doing some brainstorming in Michigan, and man, it's impressive. So you're in Plymouth, Michigan.
I am.
And I always thought of you as like, you're a conversion ratio like specialist. Is that kind of, you probably heard that before?
Yeah, I focus a lot of time on trying to make sure that my efforts are producing an economic result. Like I'm very much the color in the lines kind of guy. I just want to know what's going to get me to the best result in the quickest time possible with the least amount of energy. And that's why I figured conversion ratio is the only way that I could ever define how that really would work. Yeah,
I like that. So what we're going to talk about today, Doug, if you're okay with it, frankly, as always, this is non-scripted. Who knows? Who knows what we'll end up talking about?
Right, exactly.
But it's scheduled. Our topic that we have here is how to be more referable, and how loan officers can get more referrals from activity that they're already doing. So we're not talking about necessarily doing new activity. It's like you're already doing this.
Yep.
The one piece that you're missing by already doing that is you're not getting that referral from the exact same activity that you're already likely doing. Is that a safe assumption?
It's not even an assumption. It's spot on. I mean, I've interviewed probably about 500 agents in the last 4 months. And what I'm about to share with everybody is exactly what their pain point is, which is what I'm rolling out to you guys so that you can use it in your conversations with your relationships.
Well, cool. Well, let's jump right into it, man. How do we be more referable?
So a lot of it has to do with intention. We do a lot of things in our business every single day out of habit, but we don't do a lot of things out of intention. And that's because we're so hardwired to do certain things a certain way. And you more than anybody else probably know how vitally difficult it is to change people's habits, to get them to become more focused on maybe something that's more profitable, something that's more freedom creating, something that's more that's more valuable for them. And I think that's why we're both here today, is because we've specialized or have come across ways and styles that help people get more of what they deserve. And if I was to ask anybody how they become more referable, what I'm about to give you is a 4-question process that you can have with anybody. I preach it to realtors. When I sit down and I do events with realtors, I ask them point blank. I said, if I could help you increase the number of referrals that you get from the people you refer out, would that be of value to you? So let's think about realtors, for example, as being the catalysts for many businesses. Most agents believe that they refer out 10 things a month and get nothing in return. If you think about the roofers and the window people and the home inspectors and the insurance agents, the list goes on. Most agents say that they don't get the amount of business in return that they refer out. Carl, would you agree with that based on your experience?
So I would absolutely say that's the case. So I would say that the average real estate agent probably sometimes feels like a referral giving service, not a referral getting service. Almost for sure.
That's exactly right. Mostly a referral giving service. I like that. So when a loan officer comes to them and sits down, they feel the sense of kind of like us nipping at their heels, and it kind of gets annoying at times. And that's why we have to figure out how to become better. Consistency is a huge part of it, but I also think the message that we have to give them is uber important. And so you and I were role playing this, and I'd like to role play it with you just so that they can get a sense of how it would sound. And we kind of did this a little bit, but let's.
This isn't where I have to put on a nurse's outfit or anything, right?
No. I want them to listen. I don't want them to be so focused
different
on
than last time. Yeah, there's a visual image. They're going to be.
That might cause some distraction.
Yeah, there's some therapy. So all right, so cool. So yeah, let's do a little role playing about how it typically goes when a loan officer is talking to a real estate agent or whoever to get a referral.
Correct. So if we sit down and said, okay, the first question I always like to ask every agent, Carl, would be, so over the last 10 transactions that you've closed, whether it's been in a month or a year, how many of them did you wish that you got a referral from? And
so out of the last transactions, I wish I got a referral from all 10 of them.
Okay. So why do you feel like you deserved a referral from all 10 of them?
Well, we closed on time.
Okay.
Everybody had a great experience.
Okay.
We kept them updated of the process as it going on. Okay. And I told them what the rate and the closing cost was expected. Okay. And, it was spot on. So I told them what to expect, and that's what they got. So
you did your job.
I did, for sure.
You did your job at the highest level possible.
I think, spot on. I sure do.
Good. See, when I interview most people, they always say that they deserve more referrals than, for the deals.
Yeah, I did a great job. We closed on time. How come I'm not getting referrals?
So out of those 10, Carl, how many did you actually get a referral from?
So the average answer, my suspicion that you get is I got 0. It's the same thing I hear when I ask that same question, Doug. I got 0 referrals from my last 10 transactions.
0. Most of the time I hear between 0 and 1, which is the honest truth. And if you're asking a realtor, they'll be honest with you as well, and they'll say 0 to 1 as well. And that's where I started this entire presentation around, was most people aren't getting what they're putting the work in for. I mean, we're putting in 110%, but we're only getting 20% value out of it. That's a horrible give and take. Like we aren't getting what we put into our business, and that needs to change. And so the next question would be then, how do you define a successful transaction in our business? Carl, what would you say would be the definition of a successful transaction?
I would say I have a successful transaction when it closes on time.
Okay.
They brought to the closing table what they thought.
Okay.
And they go home with a set of keys on the day that they accept the date and time they expect to go home with those keys.
Right. So what I hear most people tell me is good communication, close on time, and everybody's happy.
Exactly.
That's essentially the basis for what everybody defines, both lenders and realtors. That's what they define as a successful transaction. And I disagree. I couldn't disagree at a higher level, because I think the definition, or I believe the definition of a successful transaction, is the right to get a referral before closing. Before closing. Doesn't that really speak to how good our communication is, how happy our audience is, and whether or not we're on track to closing on time? Isn't that really now the definition? But it's amazing to me how when you ask somebody if they'd rather work with a lead or a referral, which is the third question, most people will tell me what, Carl? If you ask anybody, a lead or a referral, everybody would say what?
I'd rather work a referral than a lead.
Okay, and I've figured out that there are 10 reasons that most people choose a referral over a lead. It's because they're more profitable. They enjoy working with you more. They treat you like a trusted advisor and less like a salesperson. They probably or will refer you to other people. They probably respect your personal time the most. They probably are somebody you could break bread with. They probably don't take as much time to serve. They sincerely appreciate you. They probably take your advice most readily, and they probably share similar values. That's really the reasons most people love working with referrals over leads.
When you put it that way, you think, dude, if I'm working a lead and I don't have all those things, it's interesting that you say this, man. So I've never really thought of the difference between a lead and a referral.
Big difference.
But it's a huge difference.
Huge.
Right? It's a huge difference. And I've never really thought of it that way.
Right.
Because you're right, on a lead, I've always think, like when I get a lead, nothing wrong with leads, by the way. Like we like those.
Nothing at all.
We like those. We like those. And we want to do more of that. We want to do lead generation activity, but only after we're making sure we're doing referral generating activity
Correct.
Because when I get a lead in, I feel like there's always this wall up. I call it the wall of trust.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've got this wall. And when I get that lead in, I'm working to try to lower that wall. And so I catch them at least peeking over the wall going, okay, who are you and what do you got? You know, so I don't want to be talking through a wall. I want to be talking kind of over it. Correct. And then throughout the process, we're just lowering that wall more. But you're right. If I can like to focus my efforts on the referral getting process as opposed to the lead working process, that wall's already been if I send somebody, hey man, you got to be talking with Doug. Doug's the man, and they know me and they hear me say Doug's the man, which is true, by the way.
Right.
That's not a lead. That's a referral, and they've already been pre-sold.
It's the difference of walking up to somebody's door and then opening the door as you step onto the porch, or you having to knock on the door. Which one's more inviting? When the person's expecting you, they open the door for you and you just step on the porch and walk right in and shake hands, or walk up to the porch, have to knock on it, and then they have to open the door and you have to go through that stage of getting to make sure that you're the right person to be let in.
So what you're saying here is the litmus test I've always done on, hey, this was a successful transaction, was we closed on time and everybody was happy, right? Exactly. Wrong litmus test. I need to be adding in, and I got a referral from each one of the agents and the buyer and the borrower and or co-borrower.
The goal should be that. We've found that the conversion ratio is between 30 and 35% of your active pipeline should be referring you somebody before closing if you follow certain strategies. So what you said before was the definition of a successful transaction before was happy clients, closing on time, good communication, but yet you'd rather work with a referral over a lead. Well, see, there's the disconnect between what your right hand and left hand are wanting. What you say you'd rather work with, you're not working towards, because that's not what you defined a successful transaction as. Where I come in is I kind of bridge that gap. We create that connection between the two sides and go, well, if this is what you want, then we better start being intentional on making sure your activities are focused on producing that. But the cool part is after I gave you those list of 10 things that make a referral more valuable, you know what nobody answers, Carl, that I'm shocked at time and time again?
What's that?
They're free. I've never spent a penny on a referral, but yet they're more profitable. You enjoy working with them more. They enjoy your personal time more. Every reason that we have out there to work with them, we are obviously not running a business that's designed for it. I just got done meeting with another business, a branch that I coach that's got 15 LOs, and I've been tracking their business for the part of 60 days. Not one current client referral, not one. They're going to do north of 10 million in loan volume this month, but not one current client referral. So the question begs is, are you providing just satisfactory service, or are you providing exceptional service? Are you providing a satisfactory experience?
So let me ask you this, Doug.
What's that?
So let me ask you this, man. So let me ask you this. So we've clearly defined, I want leads and referrals, right? Let's make sure nobody misunderstands that, because our next episode, we may be talking about generating leads. So we're all into generating leads.
Correct.
But after we're generating referrals.
Yes.
Right?
Because you can take a lead and turn it into a referral source.
Yeah, exactly.
If your intention.
Exactly.
If your business has a process, you can absolutely take leads and convert them into referrals, which if you're spending money on leads and you're spending time converting leads, how nice would it be to take that one lead and turn it into another referral that's more profitable, more enjoyable to work with, and it doesn't cost you any money?
Exactly. So I like that. So number one, step one, I'm looking to create a referral getting business.
CARE.
Right?
I call it CARE.
What's CARE stand for?
Create a referable experience.
Okay, I like that. Create a referable experience. All right, perfect. So I'm looking to create these. So my new definition of a successful closing is
not a successful closing. Before, we want a referral before closing.
Correct. So my definition of a successful transaction was I got a referral from it, because everything else would have to be true also.
Boom.
To get a referral. If I closed on time, communicated well, everybody's happy, and got a referral. All right, so I got a question, brother. So I closed on time, I gave great communication, and everybody was happy. What actions do I take to help ensure that I get that referral?
Boom. So we're not done with the questions yet. Because remember, this is just the start of the I'm getting to know you speed dating phase of meeting with a referral partner.
Yes.
And so by the time you get to these first 3 questions over your last 10 transactions, how do you define a successful transaction and whether you work with a lead or a referral? Okay. Most of the time the agent is looking across the table, or your referral source or partners looking across the table, asking that very question. And I usually go into the conversation of, okay, so what makes you referable? We've got to be able to be more articulate and more intentional with our conversation, correct? I mean, if you want people to be referable, let me rephrase that. If you want more referrals, you can't just ask for them. You actually have to be referable. I know a lot of people that ask for the business that don't get it because they're what, Carl? They're just not referable.
Not referable, yeah.
There's a big difference between the two. I've seen many people put that little sticker on their cards that says, I love referrals. And a lot of times you can't ask or you can't explain why you should deserve it. And so here's the 4th and final question. So on most of the time when I'm doing my presentations, I actually make agents stand up, and I get 3 of them in front of a room, and I go, here's the game that we're going to play. I'm going to ask you a question, and the answer that you give can't be the same answer that I give. So I ask them this question: what makes you more referable than the next agent? And I go, here's what I hear. Their designation, their time in the business, they're honest, they're loyal, they're hardworking, they're dedicated. They're like a 7-Eleven because they're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They care, they're honest, they're hardworking, they got a great brokerage, they have a great car, they dress nicely, they're very polite, they're very articulate. And then I turn to the first realtor and I go. And by the time we get to the second or third realtor, they don't really have anything to say that's different than what I said or the first realtor said, which brings home the point of, if you can't make yourself sound better than the competition, how are you going to earn the right to not only get the business, convert the business, but actually turn yourself and your process into something that's referable? And so I've kind of boiled it down into 3 simple strategies that are what I believe make up the definition of communication, Carl.
All right.
There are 3 things that you and I, as professionals, get paid to do with every one of our clients. First off, we get paid to consult. Like, we aren't a salesperson. We are not attached to the outcome. We're simply attached to the ability to provide our clients with the knowledge and the wisdom and the compassion and the processes and the tools to help them make a decision that's right for their family. Like, how do I say this? I never believed that I was the only lender for somebody to work with. I just believed I was the best person for everybody to talk to about lending. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Like, I'm not interested in being the only lender. I just want to be the best person for everybody to talk to about lending. So as a consultant, I'm more attached to the relationship than I am about a paycheck. And that in and of itself, when you come from a want-based relationship, is a much more attractive offer for your audience than coming from a need-based relationship. We've all been in a sales position that we don't like it because it feels kind of uncomfortable, especially when we're being sold. But we all know what it feels like to talk to a friend. You know, Zig Ziglar has that quote that says, if you go out into the world looking for friends, you won't find many. But if you go out into the world being a friend, you'll find plenty. And I believe that the consultant is somebody who really shows up trying to be genuinely helpful and of value to people. As Scott would say, results in advance. Provide value first, be a giver, givers gain. It all kind of flows into that whole concept. So most of us would consider ourselves to be consultants. I don't think I've met many people who call themselves a salesperson. But the second piece is we're negotiators. Now, we don't always negotiate sales prices and terms. We also negotiate a lot of different relationships that have to bring a closing to fruition in 21 business days. Like, think about all the people that are involved in a transaction, Carl. There's like 30 people. You got the buyer, the seller, the title company, the realtors, the home inspector, the insurance agent, the pest inspector, the reinspection, the title company's surveyor. I mean, the list goes on. And all these people have employees and team members that are all touching your file from start to finish. If you're not a very good consultant, you're never going to be a great negotiator, because you're never going to be able to negotiate all the different processes and people that have to make a file come together in its timely manner. Would you agree?
I agree.
So if you aren't a good consultant, you're never going to be a great negotiator. And the third and final one, which I absolutely think is the most vital, but it's also the largest miss because most people aren't really good at being great consultants and great negotiators. Let me ask you a question. Why do you think most people work with their doctor? Do you think it's because of their degree? Do you think it's because of their location? Do you think it's because of their office? Or do you think it's because of their bedside manner?
I can tell you why I see a doctor. So I can't I can't speak for everybody. I mean the bedside manner is a personally for me is a big thing.
Every one of them.
Yeah.
Everybody chooses their doctor based on their ability to manage their fears and expectations. I don't even know where my doctor went to college. I don't know what kind of grades they got. I don't know what kind of tools they use. I don't know if one medicine is better than the next, but I will tell you that every time I go to see Dr. Cox, I hang out with him because I feel like I'm in the presence of somebody who truly cares about me.
Mm.
So when you sit in front of a referral partner or a realtor in this case, and you explain to them that, so here are the three things under the word communication that I feel like we do as a team better than anybody, is we consult, we negotiate, and we manage our clients' fears and expectations better than anybody. Most of the competition can't even articulate that, let alone produce it. And because we know what we're focusing on and because we focus on details, this is what we provide to you and your clients. And the cool part about this entire presentation, as you are my realtor, I want you to take this exact script. And if you had 10 real, referral partners in your network, I don't care who you refer business to, go sit down and have a conversation with them around these 4 questions and find out whether or not they'll buy into the way you do business compared to the reason why they, why would they refer any other agent? Does that make sense?
It does.
So it's a strategy that works when you sit down and try to connect with a realtor or a referral partner, but it's also a strategy that you can use and flip the script on and go, why don't you go use this in your business? Because it can work with any professional that you're getting business from. Because every time I've looked out at an insurance agent, they're of age to buy a house. Every time I've looked at a roofing company, they have employees that have people of age to buy a house. You're going to refer realtors out anyway. Now I'm giving you the definition of why you should use me. I don't know.
So how do I ensure that? So I just worked with this new listing agent, or new to me.
Yep.
What can I do to help ensure that I'm going to get a referral from them? Like if my new definition is this was a successful transaction with the listing agent because I got a referral before we closed that deal. What can I do to make sure that happens, or give me the best shot at it?
Yeah, I think the very first thing you do is that when the offer is being presented, you call the listing agent, you introduce yourself. It helps bolster the offer that's coming to the table anyway, and simply ask them 1, 2, 3, or 4 of those questions on the phone, and ask them if they'd be interested in sitting down face to face with you, so that you can explain to them how your care process works and how you'd love to be able to amplify their brand for their clients, that they would be more than willing to refer to you. I have found tremendous success with my clients doing that. Tremendous.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you more. It never ceases to amaze me on the amount of loan officers that they get a contract in, and I would say that 80 to 85% of all loan officers have 0 conversations with the listing agent. Like 0.
Less than 0. I think it's less than 0.
Yeah, well, I take that back. Unless the listing agent is calling and saying, "Dude, what's going on?" Right. We've been under contract for 3 weeks. Where are we at? Are we okay?
Right.
So they're calling the loan officer on what's going on, as opposed to the loan officer being proactive and reaching out to them.
Correct.
So why is that, man? Why do you think? So we all know. I mean, anything that we've said really isn't breaking news. Like everybody goes, "Hey, I get it. I'm doing a transaction. I've got a borrower, a co-borrower, a title company, a listing agent, a buying agent. Hell, there's even creative things we can do to get the seller to wherever they're moving to."
Agreed.
Why don't most loan officers?
I'm sorry, I lost you.
I said, why don't most loan officers reach out and talk to those agents? Or why do you think most loan officers don't do the proactive activity during a file to get referrals?
Because they don't define a successful transaction as the right to getting a referral before closing. They don't care. They don't care emotionally. They don't care financially. If you believe that your business model was to earn a referral from every client before closing, then you'd be highly motivated to pick up the phone and call that listing agent, because at the very least, if you help that client get the offer accepted, that's a referable opportunity for the client that's sitting in front of you as it is. But it also creates an opportunity for you to provide an amazing experience for that listing agent, especially if you picked up the phone and had a brief conversation with them on these questions. And it just opens the door for you to be able to amplify your brand by talking to more people about what's important to you, which I have found not many realtors or lenders are running around the country talking about this. And this is a pain point that we're all dealing with. I don't know many.
I guess what you're saying, my question is kind of what comes first, the chicken or the egg. But what you're saying is when we have that new definition of our head, that this is only a successful transaction when I get that referral, that it changes the mindset and the activity you're doing all has that specific piece in mind. The end result, what do I need to do to get a referral? As soon as I get a deal, first thing goes in, all right, my job here is not to close this loan on time. My job is to get a referral out of this. Closing the loan on time is a part of that, of course.
Correct.
Right? Giving everybody great communication is a part of that. But the actual measurable, the score on the scoreboard isn't I close this loan on time. The score is 0 until I get a referral.
Correct. So you said chicken or the egg. I'm going, you're building the hen house first. Because once you build a hen house, then you can decide whether you're raising chickens or laying eggs. Yeah. I don't care which one you're after. The first thing you got to do is build a business that has a clear definition of what you're after. Yeah. And I believe that once you're clear on what you're after, it's kind of like your operating system. Most loan businesses or real estate practices don't have an operating system. They don't know what they're chasing. They're chasing money, which is more of a result. I'm chasing what you just said. I'm chasing the scorecard of how many people on that board am I going to be closing in the next 60 days that will refer me somebody to somebody that they care about, which I've already said, convert at a higher percent. They're more profitable. They're easier to work with. They're more fun to work with. And it creates more work-life balance. And I don't care where the business comes in the door from, but if your operating system isn't to convert it and turn it into a referral opportunity, you're going to wake up unemployed every single day.
So, when we talk about the chicken and the egg thing, that always leads me to a very perplexing question.
Yeah.
Who's the first guy that saw this thing coming out of a chicken's butt and think, I think I'm going to eat that? Like, where'd that come from?
No different than frog legs. I just can't imagine somebody being so desperate to eat a frog leg. Or crayfish. I mean, seriously, we can go on and on.
We might just edit that part out. But I've always wondered that. It's like, okay, I'm sitting there. This thing just came out of this animal. And it's like,
I'm super hungry.
Man, I'm really hungry. And he couldn't catch the chicken. So he went,
right, exactly.
I hope this is good.
Yeah.
Right, I hope this.
Right, I agree.
Dude, I really like this, man. I really like the flipping of the switch of.
Do you know why I call it leveling the seesaw, Carl?
Yeah.
It's because now you're taking a conversation instead of being the fat kid at the one end and you the skinny kid at the other. It brings the conversation into a level playing field because you're talking about a pain point that they absolutely have and are struggling in their business, and you're at least identifying and addressing it. And when you can talk about something, you automatically elevate your skill set to be better than the competition. And when you give them those 3 things that make them referable, consulting, negotiating, managing of fears and expectations, it shifts your value from being somebody who's needing business to somebody who's saying, I can help you gain more opportunities in your business. Refer your clients to me and you'll have a better chance of getting more business because we care better than anybody else.
I like that, man. I like that the new scoreboard, man. I like that a lot. And I think as long as we have our eyes on that scoreboard of this is successful only when I get a referral. Mm-hmm. And if everything else goes absolutely perfect and I don't get a referral, it wasn't a successful closing. It wasn't a successful transaction.
Because there's something missing. And I have found, like you've always preached about the just ask. Usually it's because we're not asking enough and we're not asking at the right time. That's for another class, but there's the right time, the right way, and the right process to start that with. This is just 10% of the entire process that it takes to help to change your business model from purely getting at bats and going and hitting your closing dates to changing it to getting more quality, more trusting, more valuable, more profitable clients through the door.
I've always thought, like, people ask me sometimes, Hey, what's the quickest way to ramp up your business? Man, getting referrals from the transactions you're already doing. That is by far, like if you look at the people in the Freedom Club, there's two things that typically grow their business the fastest.
Mm-hmm.
It's working the past database,
Mm-hmm.
and getting referrals from the deals they're currently doing.
Exactly.
And those two activities usually responsible for 80% of somebody's success. So it's not even they have to start doing new work, right? It's just squeezing more orange juice from the oranges that you've already picked.
Yeah. Correct.
It's not that you have to go and climb a whole bunch more trees. You already got the oranges. Just you're leaving 80% of the juice in the orange.
I like the apple and core analogy. What's inside of an apple core? Seeds. There's usually a dozen or so seeds inside of an apple, but we'll eat the apple, throw away the core. Well, for the number of cores that you've thrown away and the number of seeds you let die, that's all the opportunities in every one relationship. An apple represents a relationship. The core and the seeds inside of it represent all the different relationships that they care about that you could benefit from if you took care of that core and took those seeds and did something special with it, which is provide them an experience that they would gladly introduce.
Plant the seed, you get another tree.
You plant enough seeds, you get an orchard. And when you have enough orchards, you don't have to chase anybody anymore, right? You start having your own fruit. You have your own fruit stand, your own fruit sales. You create your own business that doesn't rely on anybody other than your process, which I have found most agents in our world don't have a process. There's enough studies about it that, I could talk to you about it. But the cool part about this is I know one of the questions is going to be, well, how do I get in front of a realtor and have this conversation? Just pick up the phone and have your Thor's Hammer call and pick up the phone and go, hey, listen, out of the last 10 transactions you've had, how many of them did you get a referral from? And they'll tell you between 0 and 1, go, if you're interested in learning how to get more, I'd love to spend 30 minutes with you to show you how we can help you do that together.
I like that.
Great success with that. And it doesn't limit it just to realtors. It can go anybody, any industry. I do it with financial planners and CPAs and attorneys and insurance agents. And I did it with a photographer. It's just anybody that's eligible to be a referral partner for you is a perfect person to try this out on.
I like that, brother. Well, dude, man, I could talk about this. Getting referrals is just like the easiest way to grow a business. And Doug, it's not that hard. I mean, it's
simple, but it's just not easy because we go back to living out of habit versus intent.
Yeah.
We live out of habit.
You just have to, it's just like, you just have to, and I like your thing of the scoreboard thing here, because all you got to do is be mindful of that piece and just remember to do the activities required to get the referral. One of which is asking for it. I mean, it just never ceased to amaze me on how dude, I was at I had a vendor come meet with me one time. Called me up. He was flying into town, and they understand, that I'm honored to have some loan officers that sign into our training and listen to the podcast and whatnot. And this guy had a had a widget, but it was a nice widget. Like, it was a tool that I thought, man, that sounds like a pretty good thing. So he flew into town, took me to coffee. I thought it went great. And at the end of the time, it was like, hey, man, Carl, man, it was great meeting with you. Man, he said, nice, cordial things to me. Sure. Shook my hand and went his way, and I went mine. I went, what the hell? Am I promoting this thing, or like where we? I thought it was kind of a cool thing. He never asked me for the business. And first thing I did was walk out of there smelling my breath, my armpits. Did I forget to bathe, or did I have an onion on the way into work today or something? That the guy didn't want to work with me because I thought we hit it off really well.
Right. And
I got back to the office, and Tammy said, well, how'd it go? And I said, well, I don't think he liked me, because after I know I could have huge benefit for him. He had a really good thing I thought would help some people out, but he didn't ask me.
Right.
And she said, Carl, it wasn't you. He was just, and it feels weird for me to say this, but he was intimidated. And it's like, I'm like, I see myself as the least intimidating person like ever, but I was like, all right. So he was just afraid to ask for my business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went away, actually, I don't know if offended is the right word, but like hurt or disappointed. Disappointed.
I can see that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's hard to see ourselves through other people's eyes. And I think it kind of holds true when we look at our business as a whole. So we have the fortunate ability, Carl, to see people's tax returns and pay stubs and bank statements and ask them questions. We really can dig into people's finances at a deeper level than most. And if we now define that a successful transaction is the right of getting a referral, it doesn't always necessarily mean a client. It can be a referral to an introduction to another referral partner who could turn out to be a great opportunity. So case in point, I had a father-son painting team, self-employed, come to me, and they gave me their tax returns. And as I'm going through the meeting with them, I always ask them, how did they like their CPA or, accountant? And in this particular case, they said they love this lady. So I asked for an introduction. I got the referral because I believe the definition is the right to ask and get one. And so I met with Terry, and within a half hour of doing this leveling the seesaw presentation, she's like, Doug, as much as I love what you have to offer, I don't think we're going to be a good fit. I'm like, well, all right, win some, lose some. She's like, most of my accounting business is all commercial, but I do have another business called the Divorce Strategies Practice. And I'm like, divorce? I didn't know divorce was a strategy. She goes, you'd be surprised. But she says, in all fairness, I get attorneys referring me clients who need forensic analysis of their tax returns. So all of my clients have money, need or own a home, and have good credit, and they need a mortgage. Would you be interested in working with all those people? I said, yeah. So out of a simple conversation from a father and son painting team, because I believe that the definition of a successful transaction is to get an introduction or a referral to somebody else, Terry referred me 35 purchase transactions that had no realtors attached to it in 3.5 years. And it's all because my definition of a successful transaction is the right to ask for people for introductions or referrals to others that might benefit from knowing me.
Yeah.
That's
well, cool. Dude, I love I love the new scoreboard thing, man. I love the new scoreboard thing. I think that's I think that's really a game changer. Well, brother, we're up on the clock here. I try to keep this thing to drive time, and I keep in mind it's Palm Harbor, Florida drive time, not L.A. So
right.
I might need to read it. Where was I at? I was in Seattle, Washington here this past week, and they were talking about the cost of living in Seattle being so high. And my question is, the pleasant young man or young lady at Starbucks that serves me coffee that makes whatever $15 an hour, I think is minimum wage up there. How in the heck do they afford to live in this town? They said, well, they drive an hour and a half commute. I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah. They also rent out rooms.
If I go more than 15, 20 minutes, man, I'm looking for a new place.
They do border income out there.
Yeah.
People have a home and they'll
house
to these individuals that can't afford it, and they'll have the right to live in Seattle or wherever they're at. It's a pretty amazing lifestyle out there. I love Seattle a ton. Yeah,
it's a beautiful place. I loved it, and awesome people. So, well, brother, I really appreciate you being here. It's an honor.
Thank you, Carl.
Honor to have you as part of the Freedom Club family, and you're just a really smart dude. You have great processes and systems that you help us all with, and man, it truly is. It's an honor to know you and have you as a buddy.
Thank you, my friend. I feel the exact same way, and it's an honor to be invited to your podcast.
All right, everybody. So we want to thank all you for listening in. We really appreciate you being part of the podcast here. And boy, the one thing if we could be so bold as to ask is go give us one of those 5-star reviews on iTunes. That really helps us out. And if you're a branch manager and you think this would be something that would benefit your loan officers, send it out to them and spread the word. We really appreciate that too. So, Doug, just in closing, is anything I didn't ask you today that I should have?
No, man, it was spot on. It's everything. It's perfect.
Cool. All right, my brother. If you want to reach out to Doug or I and have a conversation, we'll put a link here. If you're watching this on the podcast page, there's a link. If you're watching it on the notes, there's a link. And evidently, so we're doing this podcast now as a video feed, Doug. So you and I have been sitting here with a camera.
Hi. Right.
Well, I just found out that Nina is taking these and putting them up on YouTube now. So
cool.
Yeah. So we'll put a link up there too. So when I found out she was doing that, I thought, well, my gosh, I guess I better start wearing a shirt. So anyway.
Wouldn't have bothered me none, brother. Wouldn't have bothered me none.
All right, guys. We appreciate you. Thanks for the reviews, and appreciate you forwarding this to your friends. And for those of you who'd like to chat more about this or any other topic, just click on the link, and Doug and I'd love to have a conversation with you.
Thank you, guys.
So with that, thanks again. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next episode. of Loan Officer Freedom. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.
Take care.